Faith Simon has written an essay for my new book that I edited called When Chicken Soup Isn't Enough, Stories of Nurses Standing Up for Themselves, Their Patients, and Their Profession. Faith is a nurse practitioner in rural California. And I wonder if you could tell me what it's like to have to really stand up for the patients that you deal with. I mean, what kinds of situations are you confronted with?
I guess the most compelling issue is that the system around us is falling apart. And so it doesn't take too much to go wrong in a person's life for things to collapse under them in a way that they don't have a lot of resources to deal with a crisis. So I find myself in a position where there are few community resources still available that might have been available in the past, or that the resources that are available have such strong gatekeeping because they have so few services available that they're going to give them to the fewest people possible. So you come to a problem that maybe 10 years ago there would have been a social structure intact to deal with. You have to fight for those services in a way that you wouldn't. From healthcare to the school to the welfare system, it seems that when you come up with a problem that a lot of people are trying to, there are a lot of obstacles in the way to get that service, even if it still exists, because the services are so few and far between that many bureaucrats' job is to keep anybody from getting those few services.
So when you're in your job, chicken soup is totally not enough because you have to really fight all the time.
We have to fight for the schools to do their job, for the county mental health system to do its job, for the insurance companies to do their job. I mean, every aspect of it is a fight.
And can you tell me very briefly about the story that you wrote for the book about the young man that you call Paul, who had some serious problems, mostly mental health problems?
Paul is a kid who presented early to the system with learning issues, school issues, behavior issues. Was identified early, but then kind of dropped through the cracks because early on in his early school years he just wasn't disruptive. He had many other problems, but disruption wasn't one of them, so he slipped through. And then the problems resurfaced with great force when he reached his teenage years. So he was unable to function in a mainstream classroom and was pushed out eventually into an alternative school system, and then got involved with some marijuana abuse, which made everything worse, and then eventually got in trouble with the law. So that when I got most involved with him was at a point where his mental health issues had become so severe that he ended up in the criminal justice system, not because he was a criminal in any way, but because there was no one could control his behavior, no one could help him. Right. It's very interesting because really there are many kids like him, and all kids are different, but in this particular case, and I think it's true in many circumstances, there are environmental ways to manage these problems, and they're mostly about structure and behavior modification and giving a kid some hope for the future and building on their resources and their strengths. But in order to do that, we had to fight the probation system. We had to fight the county mental health system. We had to use medications that maybe if we had more structural constraints, we wouldn't have had to use chemical restraints. And I think this is kind of a recurring problem in the system, is the system is so inflexible, especially the school and the court system, and that it's easier to medicate the kids. there were many obstacles to getting a social situation set up for him that would work for him, which involved getting him out of his house, getting him out of his milieu where he was smoking too much pot, getting him out of his school environment that wasn't working for him. And it fell to me as his medical provider to sort of take on the whole system and act as his advocate in all the arenas of his life, not just his medical needs,
Right.
to make those changes happen.
The section in the book that your story is in is a section called Still Fighting, and some of the book describes nurses who have been able to really win or to get needed resources, and so it has a very clear, happy ending. In the case of this particular story that you tell, it's a kind of an ongoing battle, and as I gather from talking to you, the role that you play here in this rural California county where things are not easily available is that's kind of what you do, is that it's a constant uphill battle of trying to navigate all these obstacles that are really put in your way, and that you could actually help people, but the system is actually constantly keeping you from doing what you know how to do.
From where the story leaves off in the book to where the boy is now, it's been a constant ongoing battle, and still is on a daily basis. His problems, there is always another problem to deal with for Paul. And as he gets older, his problems get changed and they get more complicated. And he's hardly a pediatric patient anymore, but still, I'm involved in his life in an ongoing way to try to navigate him through these obstacles that, instead of being set up to support him and help him, seem to knock him down along the way. And I think especially in a rural area like this, where there's so few people available to help, that I will continue on an ongoing way with him and with many other kids to just keep battling, one issue at a time, whatever progress we can make to make his life smoother as he figures out where he's going to go.
And that's your life.
And that's what my life as a nurse practitioner is here.
Yeah. Thank you so much.